Oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve is nothing but the relationship between the partial pressure of oxygen and the percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen. So percentage saturation of hemoglobin increases with increase in the partial pressure of oxygen in the arterial blood. This curve is also known as oxygen dissociation curve or oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve or hemoglobin dissociation curve. So this is the graph showing the relationship between the partial pressure of oxygen and the percentage saturation of the hemoglobin. You can see a normal graph in a red line. Okay, that is a normal graph. What you see? You see a sigmoid shaped graph. Okay. So we have something known as shift to right and shift to left. Shift to right is mainly due to the decrease in the pH, decrease in the oxygen content, and shift to left is more because of the increase in the oxygen content. Again, there are many factors shift to right and shift to left. I'll come to that. So this is a normal graph when you plot between the partial pressure of oxygen and the percentage saturation of hemoglobin. So shift to left and shift to right is there. The middle one, the red line shows the normal graph. The green dotted shows the shift to right and the blue dotted shows the shift to left. We have three phases in this. Phase one is slow ascent. That is like when you see the graph from 0 to 10 mm. From 0 to 10 mm, you can see a small dip. I don't have a mouse to show. We just focus on that particular value. See the 0 level. From 0 to 10, you see there is a small slow ascending. So till the 10. 10 means it's not written as 10 there. You can see a marking there between 0 and 20, 10. That is a 10. So 0 to 10, you can see a slow ascent. From 10 to 60, you can see a steep ascending. That is a phase 2. After that, from 60 to 100 is a plateau phase. So three phases mainly here. Slow ascending phase, steep ascending phase and the plateau phase. From 0 to 10, you can take it as a slow ascending phase. From 10 to 60, it is a steep ascending phase, and from 60 to 100, it is a plateau phase. So three phases are there here. Normally saturated, 100% saturated means what? The partial pressure of oxygen is around 100. It doesn't be 100, it can be around 95 or 97, I told you. If the partial pressure of oxygen is 100 mm mercury or above, the hemoglobin is 100% saturated. For 100 mm mercury, it is coming around 100, means above 90 percent saturation. When it is 60 mm mercury, it is coming around between 80 and 90. So what does it mean that if the partial pressure of oxygen falls to 60 mm also, the hemoglobin is still 90% saturated. So that is because of the plateau phase. So the plateau phase is from 60 to 100. In the plateau phase, what happens there is uptake of oxygen by hemoglobin. So if it comes till 60 also, it is okay. If the partial pressure of oxygen falls to 60 also, still the hemoglobin is 90% saturated. What happens if it falls below 60? It goes down. So it can affect the hemoglobin saturation. There is an ascending phase. The steep ascending phase is suddenly it can go down. For example, if the partial pressure of oxygen comes down to 40, see 40 means the hemoglobin saturation comes around 60 to 70. So it is going down. So it's not a safety factor. So plateau phase is always a safety factor. A significant decrease in lung function allows normal saturation of hemoglobin, and also the oxygen content and saturation remain fairly constant in spite of how much ever they fall in the partial pressure of oxygen. So that's a safety factor, you can say. Plateau phase is a safety factor. What about steep phase? Steep phase is actually unloading of oxygen. So it is concerned with the oxygen delivery to the tissues. Earlier I told you the upper part of the curve, that is the plateau phase is safety factor because it is the one which is helping in the loading of oxygen. Okay, uptake of oxygen, you can say, by hemoglobin. The lower part is actually concerned with the oxygen delivery to tissues. It is like unloading of oxygen. This other diagram showing the second diagram showing the different phases. You can see the steep phase and the plateau phase. So what is P50 is written there at the partial pressure of oxygen is 27 mm. It can be from 25 to 27. It's not exactly 27 every time. But the range is there like 23 to 27, 25 to 27. In different textures is different. So taking an average 27 mm mercury, the hemoglobin saturation of oxygen is 50%. That is known as P50. I told about the sigmoid shaped graph. It has three phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then upper part indicates uptake of oxygen by hemoglobin. The lower part is concerned with the unloading of oxygen from the hemoglobin, mainly the oxygen delivery to tissues. And even if PO2 falls to 60 mm, the hemoglobin is still 90% saturated. So it's a plateau phase, so it's safety factor there. You can see reduced blood returning from tissues. Oxygen delivered to the tissues is a concern with the lower part of the curve. The upper part of the curve is mainly oxygenated uptake of oxygen by the hemoglobin. Why the curve is ignored in so? It's mainly due to the shifting affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen. Deoxyhemoglobin is hemoglobin without oxygen. The globin portion, as you all know, there is heme part and the globin part. Globin part is nothing but a protein part. So the globin portion is tightly bound in tense configuration in deoxyhemoglobin, which reduces the affinity of the molecule for oxygen. Whereas when you combine a molecule of oxygen with hemoglobin, what happens? The globin units are more in a relaxed configuration. So that is known as tense configuration, relaxed configuration. Tense configuration means it is seen in deoxyhemoglobin where there is no oxygen to combine with hemoglobin. It will be in a bound form or tense configuration form. When you combine a molecule of oxygen with globin units of the hemoglobin, you can see it is in a relaxed configuration. So the shifting affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen due to the tense relaxed configuration interconversion, which produces a sigmoid shaped curve. So there is a famous TR interconversion. TR means tense relaxed interconversion. From tense configuration to a relaxed configuration, this shifting affinity of hemoglobin produces a sigmoid curve. Advantage of sigmoid curve I have already told you, plateau phase is a safety factor, and the other one T phase is a helping in the delivering of more oxygen to the tissues. So oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve is shifted either left or right. Either probably shift of left and shift of right. The shift of the curve to left indicates acceptance of oxygen by hemoglobin. Like it is association of oxygen by hemoglobin. There's two words known as dissociation and association. So dissociation is nothing but a shift of the curve to the right. When there is a dissociation of oxygen from hemoglobin, the graph shifts to right. There's a shift to right. Shift to left indicates the acceptance of oxygen by hemoglobin. What are the factors affecting the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve? There are several factors, mainly the first thing you have to come in your mind is right shift is mainly due to the first factor is a decreased PO2. In shift left, it is increased PO2. There are several factors, not only oxygen. Oxygen can be affected, the concentration of carbon dioxide can be affected, the H plus concentration, the temperature, and also some other factors like 2,3-DPG, fetal hemoglobin, myoglobin, carbon monoxide, anemic state condition. Many factors are there. Shift left, you can see decreased PO2, increased PCO2, increased H plus concentration, increased blood temperature, increased 2,3-DPG concentration. So mainly the right shift factor is concerned with the decreased affinity of oxygen for the hemoglobin, that is dissociation actually it is. Shift to left factors, you can take increased PO2, decreased PCO2, decreased H plus concentration, decreased blood temperature, decreased 2,3-DPG. It's ulta. Okay. Also left factors, you have fetal hemoglobin can affect the left factor. Myoglobin can affect, carbon monoxide can affect. I'll come to that one by one. Okay. So these are the highlight of the factors affecting the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. Decrease in PO2, decrease in PSO2, decrease condition you can see in shift to right. Then increase in carbon dioxide, increase in 2,3-DPG, etc. So right shift is advantageous in tissues, whereas it is disadvantageous in lungs. Why? Because right shift is advantageous in tissues because greater amount of oxygen is released from hemoglobin, whereas it is disadvantage because the blood takes less amount of oxygen. So that is the concern with the right shift in tissues and lungs. Tissues it is advantage because there are more amount of oxygen releasing from the hemoglobin to the tissues. So there is something as Bohr's effect. Bohr is also a scientist who simply saying it is nothing but unloading of oxygen and loading of carbon dioxide. In simple words, you can say unloading of oxygen and loading of carbon dioxide is the Bohr's effect. Unloading of oxygen in the sense there is a decreased affinity of oxygen for hemoglobin here in this effect. So any factor that shifts the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve to right is a part of Bohr's effect. This takes place at the tissue level. It is nothing but the unloading of oxygen from the hemoglobin and facilitates the tissue oxygenation. It occurs mainly due to the decreased pH in the tissue. Again, obviously the right shift factor, one is decreased pH and decreased PO2 content. One is decreased pH and one is second one is decreased PO2 content. That's the main two factors which is seen in the right shift. And you can see increase in the carbon dioxide level, increase in the H plus concentration, so increase in the temperature of the blood, etc. So all are the right factors. Again, the right shift factors is mentioned here. So Bohr effect is unloading of oxygen and the loading of carbon dioxide. So in tissue, there is acidification of blood decreases affinity of oxygen to hemoglobin, and because deoxygenated hemoglobin binds H plus more actively than that of the oxyhemoglobin. And the PCO2 level obviously it increases and the curve shifts to the right and the P50 also rises. So shift to right, you can see P50 rising. Shift to left, P50 is decreasing. I'll come to P50 later. So here Bohr effect, any factor that shifts the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve to the right is a part of Bohr effect, and mainly it is concerned with the unloading of oxygen and the loading of carbon dioxide. That is the main point you have to keep in your mind. What is 2,3-DPG? It is a product of glycolysis. It is seen more plentiful in RBCs, and it has a tendency to bind to the beta chain of hemoglobin. So it decreases the activity of hemoglobin for oxygen. So that's the equation showing the binding of 2,3-DPG with the beta chain of the hemoglobin. It also promotes a rightward shift and enhances the oxygen unloading at the tissues. Factors affecting 2,3-DPG level. Decreased condition, you can see acidosis, you can see because it inhibits the glycolysis in RBC. Also, the blood stored in acid citrate buffer in blood bank due to decrease in metabolism is also a factor that can decrease the 2,3-DPG level. Increased 2,3-DPG factors, one is anemia, certain hormones like thyroid, androgen growth hormone, etc. Exercise, high altitude, increase in the body temperature, chronic hypoxia, all things can contribute to the increase in the 2,3-DPG level. Coming to the left shift, opposite to the right shift, there will be increased PO2, decreased PCO2, increased pH, decrease in the temperature, again decrease in the PCO2, and fetal hemoglobin. Also, carbon monoxide poisoning. With this, you have myoglobin also. So, fetal hemoglobin, oxygen hemoglobin dissociation of fetal hemoglobin. Fetal hemoglobin has 2 alpha and 2 gamma. Normally, adult hemoglobin has 2 alpha and 2 beta. So, fetal hemoglobin has 2 alpha and 2 gamma polypeptide chains, and there is no beta chain which usually seen in adult hemoglobin. So this, what happens is fetal hemoglobin cannot combine with 2,3-DPG that binds only to beta chain, because 2,3-DPG only binds to beta chain of hemoglobin. Since there is no beta chain in fetal hemoglobin, there is no 2,3-DPG cannot bind. So fetal hemoglobin obviously has a dissociation curve to the left. If the 2,3-DPG can bind to the beta chain, because of that we have a shift to right. Here there is no beta chain in fetal hemoglobin. That's why fetal hemoglobin comes as a factor in the shift to left. So advantage of fetal hemoglobin is increased oxygen release to the fetal tissues under the hypoxic condition. Like if hypoxia is nothing but a decreased oxygen content in the body, if there's a hypoxic condition, the advantage of fetal hemoglobin is that it can increase the oxygen release to the fetal tissues, even in the hypoxic condition state. Myoglobin is also a factor we can shift to left. Myoglobin is nothing but a iron containing pigment found in muscles in higher quantities, specialized for sustained contraction. The myoglobin acts as a temporary oxygen storehouse in the muscles. So this dissociation you will get as a rectangular hyperbola, because as it takes up oxygen at low pressure more easily than does the blood. Instead of sigmoid shaped graph, you will get a rectangular hyperbola. Diagram showing the effect of myoglobin and the fetal hemoglobin. Fetal hemoglobin is just a shift to left, nothing much shaped you can say. Again, it's like a sigmoid, but not exactly sigmoid shape. See the myoglobin, the red mark, the red line you can see, the red graph. It is more of the rectangular hyperbola. The shape is the rectangular hyperbola. So both are shift to left factors. Myoglobin and fetal hemoglobin are the factors affecting, causing the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve to shifting to the left. So myoglobin is the graph is obtained in the rectangular hyperbola graph. The effect of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide shifts the curve again to left due to there is inhibition of synthesis of 2,3-DPG. It is coming around 200 times more affinity for hemoglobin than that of oxygen. Like carbon monoxide has a 200 to 210 times more affinity for hemoglobin than that of oxygen. So higher affinity of carbon monoxide for hemoglobin produces large proportions of hemoglobin as carboxyhemoglobin. So carbon monoxide combines with hemoglobin, forms a product known as carboxyhemoglobin. So what happens there is more carboxyhemoglobin formed instead of oxyhemoglobin. This can lead to the unavailability of hemoglobin for the oxygen carriage. So the sigmoidal becomes hyperbolic. So P50 is nothing but the partial pressure of oxygen at which the hemoglobin is 50% saturated with oxygen. The normal value is 25 to 27 millimeter mercury, and the hemoglobin affinity is inversely proportional to P50 value. Decrease P50 shifts the curve to the left. Increase P50 shifts the curve to the right. And the same diagram that we have shown earlier, diagram showing, see the P50. What is P50? What happens in 50% saturated hemoglobin saturation? You can see the curve as coming around at 25, 27. It's not written exactly, so you can't tell this exactly. It's between 20 and 30. And see the level, the percentage of hemoglobin saturated 50%, it is coming around 20 and 30, between 20 and 30, it's coming around 25 to 27 millimeter mercury. So decreased P50 is increased affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen, shift to left. Fetal hemoglobin has lower P50 value than adult hemoglobin. Increased P50 is decreased affinity for hemoglobin for oxygen and shift to right. This is a diagram showing the both the factors, shift to right and shift to left. Decreased P50, decrease in the blood temperature, decrease in the PCO2, decrease in 2,3-DPG, increase in pH, and also increase in PO2 content, which is not written there. What about right shift? You can see increase P50, that's a decreased affinity of oxygen for hemoglobin. So you can see the decrease in PO2, decrease in pH, increase in temperature, increase in PCO2, and increase in 2,3-DPG. So this is a graph showing P50 as well as the factors shifting left and right.